UFC 274, Oliveira versus Gaethje. In the lightweight division, we have Charles do Bronx Oliveira defending his UFC light heavyweight title against Justin the Highlight Gaethje. So we have Gaethje, the challenger, the 33-year-old, fighting out of Colorado. His record stands. One moment. His record stands at 23-3. Good Lord, what a record. With 19 wins coming by way of knockout. Add a submission in there for good measure. He's coming off of that barn burner victory against Michael Chandler back in November. My God, aside from Khabib, who defeated him back in October of 2020, he is 5 of his last 6, and he is very much deserving of this title shot. But it is no easy task. Charles Oliveira has earned it. As Dustin Poirier would say, he has paid in full. He is the 32-year-old fighting out of Brazil, of course. He is the submission expert. He has 41 fights on his record, 32-8, and 1 no contest. And he is on quite the tear in his career. He has won 10 fights in a row going into Saturday night. Most recently, of course, defeating Dustin the Diamond Poirier by rear naked choke back in December. Mark, let me start with you. What a main event. What a lightweight title fight. What do you make of it? And give us your pick.
I make of it that I love it. Oliveira is minus 175. Gaethje is plus 145. A lot of fights we've talked through on this episode tonight, but this one is the fight. We are locking 2 of the greatest finishers the sport of MMA has ever seen in a cage and seeing who comes out alive. And that is why we watch. I could talk about this fight for half an hour. I will do my best to not do that. Gaethje's been talking a lot about how he's going to break Charles in there, mentally and physically. And Justin has done that to plenty of people, so it's not impossible. But the Charles Oliveira that we are in the midst of right now is a stone-cold killer. He has won 10 fights in a row, and if it wasn't for Tony Ferguson being a psycho who doesn't tap to a broken arm, it would be 10 finishes in a row, which is just silly. And as close and competitive as this fight is, if you've been watching this show for any amount of time, you already know who I'm going to pick, and that's Charles Oliveira. I love Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is an unbelievable fighter, but I think he is stepping in front of a man who can't be beat right now, and frankly, I think this fight is going to look pretty similar to the Dustin Poirier fight. I think Justin will come out hot. I think he may even hurt Charles in round 1. But Charles will be fine. He won't go away. And at some point in time, Gaethje gets caught up in the octopus that is Charles Oliveira. It really does feel like the guy has extra limbs once he gets into these grappling exchanges. Justin's only real range weapon is his leg kicks. All his punches are hooks and uppercuts and things in closer range. He's not the jab guy. And when it comes to those leg kicks, Charles is always really light on the front foot. So I don't know if Justin is going to be able to rip his legs with as much success as he's used to having. And if he has to be inside with Charles, that's just a wildly dangerous place to be because it's so easy to get wrapped up by him out of the blue. Plus, Justin has to be careful in all these exchanges not to be taken down, so he can't just throw with that wild abandon that he's able to in most of his other fights. And then not to mention, Charles has nice range weapons himself, like his jab and his front kick, so I think he can almost use those to kind of dictate when he wants the range to open and close in this fight. Granted, Justin, you know how he is. He's going to try to crash through and walk forward, and he has said it. He said, there's one fight in my life where I made my game plan alter from continually walking forward, and it was the Khabib fight, and I'll never do it again in my life. So we know he's going to try to walk forward. I just think it's a tough matchup for him. I do think he can hurt Charles, but I think Charles can hurt him as well, and I think we see some violent exchanges. But I just think at a certain point, it's too hard to keep Charles off you. I think maybe they're in an exchange. Charles shoots a double. Gaethje maybe like half stuffs it, but turns a little bit. Next thing you know, Charles is on his back, standing RNC. It's the same thing I predicted against Dustin, which was correct. But like I said, I think Justin and Dustin have similar weaknesses when matched up with Charles. I do think Justin can do it. I think his timing and his calm in the fire make him like extremely unique in his ability to finish people. And we know Charles can be hit, but I think Justin needs to fight a perfect fight to do it. And I think there's too much on the scale in Charles' favor. So yeah, I will say at some point, Gaethje turns, when he shouldn't. Charles is on the back. Next thing you know, tapping, rear naked choke, and still Charles Oliveira. I'll say round 3.
Round 3, rear naked.
Omar didn't go yet if you want to save
Not a
yourself.
bad pick. Yeah, I know.
I thought you were going.
All right, Omar. Lay it on us.
I'm going to go the other direction. I think Justin
Love it.
Justin Gaethje's hands, man, are terrifying. If there's a couple things that I think are going to be a fact in this fight, Charles Oliveira is going to get hit. That's a fact. Charles Oliveira is going to get rocked at some point. I also think that that's a fact. Where I think Charles Oliveira has excelled at this point is he doesn't quit anymore. And you can't tell me that man didn't quit in the past, because you saw it all over his face right before he rolled over onto his side, waiting for the referee to come and stop that fight. He doesn't do that anymore. So, the bitch that lives inside of him, he's able to quell that guy, keep that down, and he's been able to fight through a lot of fires and come out on top. And he went through a little bit of that against the Chandler fight. That Chandler fight was not an easy fight for him to get through. Like he
Poirier wasn't either.
Facts. I mean, he walked through some shit for those fights, and I don't think the Oliveira from 7-8 years ago would have been able to do anything close to that. So there is something to be said definitely for the evolution of Charles Oliveira, but there's also something to be said for the evolution of Justin Gaethje, because the man is the epitome of controlled chaos, and probably the most controlled chaos in that entire UFC organization. His ability to be so destructive and disgustingly accurate with those hooks is something that is not normal and not something you see very often in any combat sport. Normally people are using jabs to set things up and things like that. Justin is literally winging left and right hooks, but they're so damn accurate and they're so short. They're not these long looping hooks that come from he's here and then he's here. I mean, he's not wasting any energy. He's not wasting any distance. And he's very technical about the way he's been throwing his strikes. So I think he's got the gas for it, which is another thing that comes along with having to throw a lot of heavy hooks. We've seen Conor McGregor throw the heaviest of hooks, and by round 2, the man looks like he needs to take a nap. So I think Gaethje's not going to have that problem. I think he's got his gas under control. I think Oliveira's in for a rough night, but I think it's going to be a hell of a fight. I think Gaethje catches the chin, though. I'm going to go with 3rd round KO.
Ooh. I have a different pick from both of you.
A draw?
What's that?
No contest, eye poke.
No contest. No contest.
Don't even speak that into existence,
Yeah, you're right.
man.
I shouldn't even have said that.
Oh, good God.
Oh, God.
So, I think something happened for Charles when he fought Tony. I think he unlocked a new level when he fought Tony, obviously. I mean, yes, 10 in a row. Prior to Tony, he submitted Kevin Lee. Prior to that, he knocked out Jared Gordon. So he really found his way into the upper echelon somewhat recently. Other than Tony, against Michael Chandler, he got dropped bad in the first round, almost got finished. Against Dustin Poirier, he got dropped in the first round. I think if he keeps testing fate and going up against these killers and these guys at the very top of the lightweight division who have huge power, who bring in a lot of firepower, I think the law of averages is going to catch up to him. Even though he has 10 fights in a row coming into Saturday night, I see Justin Gaethje having just as much, if not more, firepower than both of the guys that Oliveira just beat. And if and when Justin Gaethje catches him and will sting him in the first round, I'm going to say Justin Gaethje by TKO in round number 1. And will be and new, like the name of our show,
Boom.
and new UFC lightweight champ.
I also want to point out.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I really quick want to point out that Justin Gaethje's footwork is also something that doesn't get talked about enough.
Yes.
As well as Charles Oliveira's newfound striking IQ. So Oliveira has implemented these knees in his game that are absolutely phenomenal. Whenever he gets into close distance, he throws really good knees, and these knees go right into the stomach and the solar plex of these guys, and it hurts them. It hurts them for sure. And these guys, their arms drop. That takes a little bit of gas out of them, and we continue. But he's been using that pretty consistently over the last few fights. With that being said, where I think the knee is actually going to play against him in this fight, because I think it's going to open him up to hooks from Justin Gaethje. The one thing that happens when he throws a lot of those knees is one of those arms is going to have to drop in order for him to throw it with a little bit of oomph to it. And I think Justin Gaethje is one of those guys that would eat that knee while throwing that hook at the same time, just because he'll see the opening. I expect that to be something to look out for. I think that might be a vulnerability that I don't know if Oliveira is considering.
Okay.
I love both of your guys' breakdowns. I fully agree that round one is the danger round. I think Charles absolutely needs to find a way to survive round one. I agree that of everyone Charles has fought, if you take Chandler, Dustin Gaethje, the guy who I think, you're saying, oh, he got caught by all of them. Of all of them, the guy who could catch him and not let him off the hook, I think, is Justin Gaethje. Mm-hmm. I also think, though, that Charles is going to have a 4-inch reach advantage, and that he may be the one hurting Gaethje in a lot more of these exchanges than people think. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, as I said, I'm going to roll with him. But, yeah, it's a great friggin' fight.
Either way, can't wait. This is the kind of fight that even thinking about it right now gives me palpitations. Like my heart starts to race. And I think about the moment right when they're about to when whoever the ref is going to be is about to say, "Fight, are you ready? Are you ready? Let's fight." I'm going to be heart pounding out of my chest.
Yeah.
I would pay $70 just to watch them two fight if there was no other card involved.
Yeah, man. And this card is sick.
I wouldn't even think twice.
Oh my God. All right. Yeah. That does it, boys. We have previewed UFC 274,